Hidden in an otherwise miserable start to the Philadelphia 76ers season has been the success of Guerschon Yabusele. The Olympic standout and former Boston Celtics big man has found his stride at the NBA level with this Sixers team and become a key part of this overall roster. I want to break down why I do think there's a chance that he could stay with this Sixers team despite a bunch of speculation and really highlight this interview. Shout out to Spencer Davies, who sent this to me, did the interview himself with Guerschon Yabusele and had a really nice write-up on it. Slipped it in my DMs to make sure I didn't miss it, and I honestly probably would have. So some really cool quotes that I think did highlight the pathway to Guerschon. So I want to start with that, kind of reflecting on how he got there, and then look ahead to how he could potentially stay with this Sixers team. So to dive right into it, I want to start off with this article, which the headline, quote, "It's a crazy year for me. Guerschon Yabusele delivering on his second chance in the NBA." And now the first part that it starts out in this article here, it writes, "Picture this. In January, you're in Spain as part of the EuroLeague. Fast forward to July, and you're in France, representing your home country in the Olympics. Come December, you're in the United States of America, playing for the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA. As the calendar year comes to a close in a short few days, Guerschon Yabusele will be over 5,400 miles from where he started in 2024. Looking back at what he accomplished in these last 365 days and the second chance it ultimately led to, the recently turned 29-year-old admits that not even he could have seen this coming when it began. Nah, Yabusele confessed candidly to RG in an exclusive interview in Cleveland. I mean, it was something that I wanted. It was something that I desired for sure. But knowing that it was going to be true and me here in that type of situation, no, it's not something that I was expecting. But I'm pretty glad that it turned out that way. After placing in the EuroLeague Final Four with Real Madrid and showing out in Paris with the French national team on a global stage, which included a viral moment where he put LeBron James on a poster, Yabusele garnered attention worldwide from fans and executives alike. Quote, "It's a crazy year for me," Yabusele told RG. "I always say the resolve that we had in Real Madrid and then go to the Olympics and be able to have that silver medal, but also compete at the highest level and be able to be on the court with the best guys in the world. Just that was an amazing for me. And to be able to come back to the league and get that contract has just been full of emotion, you know. So I do love to see him reflect on this. It is an absolutely insane path that has brought him to Philadelphia for a lot of reasons. For starters, for a lot of guys, when you flame out of the league in 2 years, you don't see that second opportunity. Think about how many former NBA players are absolutely balling out overseas right now and will not sniff another NBA chance. It's really frustrating how quickly that door can close for a number of professionals, but it happens year in and year out, and I'm very grateful and happy for Guerschon that he did receive a second chance. I do think the Olympics, if it was not for, I don't want to say the viral dunk on LeBron because he played well from start to finish in the Olympics overall, but if he did not have that type of signature moment or do it against the United States the way that he did, I don't know if there is the same buzz or that he does get a contract offer and opportunity. And boy, is he proving that he is worth more than that. Now, Guerschon continues on in this article here, and he says, playing with joy, which, to be honest, I think that's my number one takeaway from Yabusele. He is a joyous human being. He approaches life with the right attitude. He plays basketball with the right attitude and leaves it all on the floor. But he spoke about playing with joy, and what was written was, unlike when he was a young reserve with the Boston Celtics, Yabusele is an everyday rotational piece for the Sixers. With moving pieces and parts in Philadelphia's starting lineup and the team's injury woes in the first half of the season, his responsibilities have differentiated, but he's consistently been on the court. Getting those chances is not something that he's taken for granted, and Yabusele believes he's returning the favor for that belief. "Oh yeah, for sure," Yabusele told RG. "I'm always enjoying, leave everything I have on the court. I also give a lot of joy. I really want to enjoy that time. It's the first time I'm really part of a team in the NBA, and I'm truly playing, having playing time and being able to make mistakes and learn and get better for the next game. And I have a big role, and so of course I'm learning still." Look no further than the last two games to demonstrate how Yabusele impacts winning. Spelling Joel Embiid at the center position and occasionally sliding to power forward beside him or Andre Drummond, he's doing his part on each end for Philadelphia. Using his 6'8", 265-pound frame, Yabusele is screening for ball handlers like Tyrese Maxey, knocking down threes that have been created for him, and hustling to get extra possessions. And it continues on. This part I especially wanted to highlight. According to Cleaning the Glass, the Sixers' offensive rating dips by 11.3 points per 100 possessions when Yabusele is off the floor, a figure that puts him in the 97th percentile among his peers. Their effective field goal percentage also dips by a staggering 6.2% when he's on the bench, which is in the 98th percentile. Now, granted, I do think these numbers will settle down slightly as we get a larger sample size in the year progress, but it is telling for the impact that Yabusele has made. And when we talk about the stats that he has produced, we're talking 9.8 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 1.7 assists, zero point 0.4 blocks, and zero point 0.7 steals, but shooting 49.8% from the field and 38.5% from three. He has been excellent for this Sixers team, and I believe he's beyond a box score guy. That you feel his impact out there. He defends hard, and he's constantly doing the little things, man. I do believe that there is a strong case to be made that he is the highest work rate of anyone on the team. And what I mean by that is the way that he just constantly finds things to do in every single situation, competing for offensive rebounds, switching, screening for others, setting backdoor picks to create open looks for his teammates. It's just all good stuff that Guerschon does. And frankly, every single role that they've tried him in, he's been effective at, whether it is at the small ball five, playing the center spot, whether it is playing power forward, being like the truest version of a power forward that the Sixers have had in years to this point. Everything that they have given him a chance at, he has made the most of, and I cannot tip my hat more than that. And there was another quote that I did want to highlight from Guerschon. He was kind of asked about, his outlook of things, and he said, quote, "Just stay focused and be ready for whatever coach decides to do every day," Yabusele told RG. "Whether I'm at the 5 or the 4, whether I start or come off the bench, I've just got to be ready for whatever situation is going to be and be a pro about it. Try to be the best I can." Quote, "I mean, in my case, in my situation, you cannot have that type of emotion. I'm just trying to figure it out and be my best on the court and try to help the team every time. I always try to stay positive and figure out a way for me to be good on the court." This is just everything you dream of as far as a mentality from a player. I do think there's something a little bit telling towards him having this chiseled path to the clear role that he has, spending time overseas, seeing his way out of the NBA once already, that Guerschon's just grateful for this chance and doing his best to make the most of it. When you see other guys kind of take the opportunity for granted, it really does stand out seeing this from Yabusele, and he is a guy that I really hope that plays the remainder of his career in a Sixers uniform. Now, for most of the season, we've talked about this as basically a foregone conclusion that he will leave the Sixers, and I still think that is more likely than not, but I think it's not a 0% chance that the way that things are often portrayed. And why I do think that is the case, do want to dive into kind of the salary cap implications here. So there is a little bit of kind of miscommunication or misbelief with it. It really doesn't have much to do with the Sixers salary cap. It has to do with the rules for re-signing players and the percentage above the contract you can offer. So shout out to Brian Toparik of Liberty Ballers, who broke it down, the cap maestro, the guy that I go to for all this information. But he writes for Liberty Ballers, "After his standout play at the Olympics with the French national team, the Sixers signed Yabusele to a one-year, $2.1 million veteran minimum contract in late August. Yabusele flamed out of the league after only 2 years with the Boston Celtics in the late 2010s. But the Sixers have given his NBA career a new lease on life. He's taken that opportunity and run with it and is averaging 9.6 points on 49.5% shooting and 5.2 rebounds in only 23.5 minutes per game. The Sixers will be in a similar boat with Yabusele this offseason that they were with Oubre last summer. Since Yabusele is on a one-year deal, the Sixers will only have non-bird rights on him. That means the Sixers can only offer him 120% of his previous salary or 120% of the minimum salary, whichever is greater. The latter will be slightly higher. In 25-26, the minimum salary projects to be roughly $2.3 million. So the Sixers could start Yabusele's next contract at roughly $2.75 million if they use non-bird rights to re-sign him. The contract could span up to 4 years, although Yabusele would likely prefer a shorter deal to maximize his earning power. Now, Yabusele is a guy who, in general, I think we look at athletes as a little bit greedy in these, that, they do maximize their dollar. He's in the spot where he kind of has to do this, that he paid to get out of his contract in Real Madrid, and the opportunity for Guerschon was to make the most of this year and then really cash out in the offseason. The Sixers don't quite have that vehicle for him to do this year because of these restrictions, but what I do want to highlight is the next part of things. And the article continues to say, "These are tight margins that front offices will have to navigate in the coming years under the new CBA, but it's at least theoretically possible that the Sixers could spend the taxpayer MLE on Yabusele, re-sign both Oubre and Drummond if they opt out and stay below the second apron. If Yabusele is amenable to re-signing on a 2-year minimum contract with a second-year player option, that'd be best-case scenario for the Sixers. That wouldn't hard cap them, and they'd still gain early birds rights on Yabusele. So they could re-sign him the following summer for 105% of the league's average salary in the 25-26 season. That could put him right in the same 4 years, $60 million ballpark that Oubre will be in this summer. That's good. That's the good news. The bad news is that the Sixers won't have anything more than the taxpayer MLE to offer Yabusele. if they even have that. If another team offers him $6 million plus, whether via cap space, the non-taxpayer MLE, or the room MLE, the Sixers can't outbid them. Granted, Oubre could provide an instructive to Yabusele in that regard. After he re-signed with the Sixers last summer, he had other options on the table, including some that were closer to the ballpark of where he wanted to land financially, but instead he chose to stay in Philly. This really would have to be the motivation for Guerschon. I do think he likes it here. I do think he likes his role here. If he's a believer in heading down this path, there could be, something that works for both sides at the end. Now, granted, he straight up is more than a $5 million player, and a $5.7 million contract offer is the max that the Sixers could remotely put together for Yabusele this summer, but could have that pathway to his real reward being the next season. So that would take a lot of belief from Guerschon. Again, I don't think it is entirely likely, but I do think it is still a possibility. It depends on what his motivations are, but I have to imagine there is some level of gratefulness that he holds for the Sixers for giving him a chance. And frankly, he's a very important part of the Sixers team. We will see how the rest of the season goes, and I think that will largely play a role in these conversations. And also pay attention to how the Sixers kind of structured things ahead of the trade deadline, as you will be, posturing and putting yourself in the proper spot to launch in the offseason, which frankly could be more important than we ever expected to be the case, as it did feel like this was the all-in season where everything was ready, and frankly, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong to start the year. So we'll see how things shake out from there. But I want nothing more than to see Yabusele back in a Sixers uniform next year and for the foreseeable future. And I'd still wholeheartedly land on the stance of, even if it is the risk that he walks away this offseason, he does sign a notable contract somewhere else, it's worth going to battle with him every single night for as long as you have him, because he's been that good for the Sixers team. It would suck if that is the case and you don't get anything for him in return. But frankly, for how important he is to the Sixers team, and with the unclear goals and, the lack of chemistry that we've seen on the floor because of all the moving parts, stick with Yabusele until the wheels fall off is my overall message there. So hopefully things can break right and the opportunity can create the Sixers to keep Yabusele in the coming years. But shout out to him for opening up to our guy Spencer Davies in that interview there. Cool to see a window into his personality. A guy who, once again, I believe is one of the more positive human beings in the NBA as a whole. So shout out to Guerschon Yabusele for being you. Shout out to you guys for tuning into this video here. As always, appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in. Make sure to smash that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop a like on this video. I'll be back talking to you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.